this landscape where every dollar counts, knowing who your audience is key to success. But our next guest says you should not segment your market according to demographics. Here to tell us more is the principal of Brand Quest, Jason Eisner. Good morning to you, Jason.
Hi, good morning to you both.
Now, firstly, explain to us, what is segmentation? What are you referring to when we use that word?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Hey, segmentation is one of the one marketing words. I try not to use marketing when I speak, but it's the one marketing word that creeps through because it really just talks about grouping. It's about grouping. So it's about grouping people, customers. It doesn't have to be only people, but into different segments. So like just different groups of people, so to speak.
Well, I want to ask you, what is demographic segmentation? Because why do so many people choose to segment in a particular way? And why do you believe it's not the way to go when identifying with your key audience?
So to be truthful, there's many different ways that you can do things, and demographic is very, very popular way. Demographic segmentation simply is breaking those groups by common things like male, female, geography, where you live, how much income you have, all those sort of things. And I suppose one of the really interesting things about it is it's what most Australian companies tend to break things up. You normally hear in marketing terms, oh, we're going after women 25 to 54 and they live in these geographies and so forth. The reason why I have a few issues with demographic segmentation is that it's really talking to statistics and not really getting a good idea of what's going on inside your consumers or your customers or your clients' mindset.
So which way do you choose then to really look at your segmentation when you're looking at this stuff then, Jason? And why do you choose to do it a different way?
So I suppose it's a great question. I mean, we use something called motivational segmentation. It sounds like a big word, but what it really is trying to get inside your consumer, your customer's head and ask them, why do they buy? So it's a really interesting thing. Demographics is based on statistics. This motivation is based on your customers and it's before they buy. So it's trying to work out in a given market, what are the different motivators that are out there for buying? And I'll just give you a couple of examples. One of them might be price. There are people, no matter whether they're rich or poor, that will always buy on lowest price. And so that's a motivator. I will buy the cheapest price. I don't care what happens.
Yeah.
Another motivator might be brand, right? I'm going to buy the known brand. I can trust that brand or I associate with that brand, but I'm always going to buy the brand. I don't care what other companies that are there, but I'm always going to buy the brand.
Well, we're actually in a really troubled time at the moment with COVID-19. You might be able to help us out with this, but there's been a lot of industries that have had to reduce their marketing spend overall. Why is knowing your audience during this time more crucial than ever?
What a great question. You know, it's getting back to basics. I think when you're in a time when, everything, it only feels like a few days, a few months ago, but when it was just normal, when the life was normal, you kind of had this viewpoint that you could just do anything and it didn't really matter. But now, when people are at home, when people are obviously under a lot of pressure, the more you know your customer, the more you understand what motivates them, the better chance that you have of actually communicating what you do and what makes you different, and therefore has a much better chance of you actually being able to sell your products to them. So it's really important to actually not worry about the periphery and really understand who your customers are, and most importantly, who your most important customers are, because they're the people that are going to get you through this. They're the people that have always bought from you, and they're the people that are going to trust you and learn to trust what you've done.
So, Jason, I guess to Benjamin's point then, we are in this sort of weird scenario with COVID-19. There's a lot of brands that have been pulling back on their advertising and their marketing during this time, sort of watching every dollar that they spend. Do you believe that that's the right way to go? Or do you think that, they should almost be going harder to try and reach their customers during this time?
Yes, I mean, that's a whole lot of things that are going on there. It really depends on what industry you're in, but in my viewpoint, there is a couple of things that come to mind during this time. Firstly, there are certain industries that are doing great, and you wouldn't want to be pulling back. There are certain industries that are just skyrocketing in this time. And those ones you want to go full ball. But if you are in an industry that's pulled back, there definitely is an idea there that while your competitors and everybody else is pulling back, you actually have more opportunity to actually get a communication to your customers. And so that's a really, really good option. And I think the third point in this time is a lot of people, and I'm just going to touch on this briefly, a lot of people think that their marketing is only to their external customers. But one of the big things that I want to make sure is that you've got people in your organization, the people that work for you, they're your best ambassadors. And a lot of time you're forgetting about them. You need them to be on site. And so it's really, really important that they understand what you're doing and understand what you do and why you do it and be aligned around that, because they're going to be your ambassadors they're going to be there once you come out of this, and we will come out of this. They're the people that you need on site as well. So it's a mixture of a whole lot of things.
You know, one of the things that I think we need to understand at this particular time is doing things cheaper and doing things smarter. And I think this is a really good chance to pivot for people to work out maybe how they've been using their marketing budgets is maybe not the same way that they can do it in the future. Is there a silver lining with that? Do you think that coming out of COVID-19, people's change in brand awareness and the way in which they attain that is going to be changed for all time?
Oh, that's a hard thing to work out what people are going to do when we come out. We don't even know what coming out actually looks like. But what I will say to you is this time is an absolutely important time when you have, potentially you're not traveling as much. You have more time to really get back to, and it's not only marketing, it's anything to do with strategy and what your business is, getting back to what makes you great and what it is that you need to do and what it is that you don't need to do. I think in a time when everything's growing, and let's face it, for the last 20 years, everything's been growing, you can get away with anything. You do anything you want. But now, in a time like this is the time to really focus down on what's made you great. And you might find that you're doing quite a number of things that you don't need to do anymore and you shouldn't have done, but you've just done it because you've done it.
And you've had the money to do it.
Yeah.
And you've had the money to do it. And you haven't even thought about it, right? Like, oh, well, I'm told I've just got to put more and more money into Google or Facebook or whatever. But this really is a time to focus down. And this is the time when great companies are born, right? These are the times that, anybody can do okay when the world just is growing. But it's this time that we've got to focus on. If you can make your brand work during this time, then you are really, really, you've got a good business there. And that's what you've got to focus back to. And I suppose the last point I will make there is you've got to remember what made you great. Like, even if you were starting up, you had to deal with a whole lot of things that you got through. And so it's these times that make your business great. And yes, I would be definitely saying that if you can get through these times, if you're in one of these industries that is really, really in trouble, if you can get through these by coming up with new ideas or getting back in touch with your customers, then you really have a big opportunity at this point.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, Jason, if people want to find out more about you, potentially look at their sort of strategy moving forward, how can they reach you at BrandQuest?
Look, the best way is either through our website, brandquest.com.au. We also have a phone number, 1300 734 101, or get me on on my email, jason@brandquest, brandquest.com.au. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time and your insight into the world of marketing and branding. We really appreciate the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.